In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you how to use the ERS, aka the battery system within F1 2025, like an F1 esports driver would be doing, helping you to utilize your own performance, consistency, and confidence within F1 2025. With that being said, let's get straight into the action and straight onto the track. So here we are then on track, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to use the battery like an F1 esports driver. As an introduction to the video, on the bottom right hand side of the screen you can see my MFD HUD, and you can see the ERS deployment at the bottom of that. Currently a medium, hot lap, overtake, and then down to none is the modes that we have available to be changing within the F1 25 game. Of course, none means that the battery is not deploying. This is ideal for when you're in the corner or at the end of the straight and you want to be harvesting the battery. In an ideal world, you're deploying battery on the exit of the corner to get up to speed and gain momentum as quickly as possible, and then once you get towards the end of the straight, about 150 meters before the braking zone, then you can start putting down the ERS to none, and that's about right how you want to be harvesting and regenerating the battery. Medium is ideal for most of the straight. This is a good opportunity to be using your battery, but not using it excessively. As you can see on the halo right now, on the left hand side, you see something called the bat, and this is indicating the battery. As it's now in 90%, as we're on the throttle, you can see it's going down and down and down, but not that quickly, and it's something that's quite gradual. If you put it towards hot lap, this is going to give you even more power and even more usage of the battery, but you can see it drains pretty quickly, and we're going all the way down to just about 81 before we hit the brake pedal. The final and most aggressive mode of the battery is going to be your overtake mode. Well, as the name suggests, this is used for overtaking, but this is also a very good opportunity to be going faster and gaining lap time because of it. So if you look at it now, then the battery is draining extremely fast, and we're going all the way down to 60%, but using it with the overtake button gained us 2.5 tenths from the start finish line to the exit of corner 1 compared to the delta on my steering wheel that had the reference set in the medium mode. So you can see how powerful the overtake button is, and probably about 50% of the battery usage equates to about half a second of lap time potential. Speaking about how the battery is harvested and regenerated now, when you are off the throttle or on the brake pedal, you can see that we're going to be regenerating the battery higher and higher, and you're going to see that this is going to start going up towards 100%. This is already also, let me get my words out correctly, this is also regenerated when you're off the power through basically the heat of the hybrid system. Again, I'm not a real life engineer, so I'm not having the correct definitions, but I just know how it works within the F1 25 game, and I'm doing my best to explain it in a way that is functional within the game. A little feature as well within the F1 25 game, if you look at the steering wheel in the car, you're going to see a red bar going up, and that is indicating how much harvesting you've done with the brakes of the car effectively. And once you get this bar to reach its maximum threshold potential, all the way filled up with the red, and then you are not going to be able to harvest the battery with the braking potential of the car for the remainder of the lap. As you can see, it resets over the start finish line. This is why sometimes you see on the HUD it says reduced harvesting, and this is an indication to what's happening. You can still regenerate a little bit of battery through just lifting the throttle at the end of the straight and basically using the heat to get back into the hybrid system. But that is a very global introduction to the battery system on F1 25. Now that global introduction has been done and dusted, what we're going to be doing in the practice mode is showing you an optimal way to use the battery, and then going to qualifying and show an optimal way to use the battery in qualifying, and likewise in the race format as well. So if you just want to go quick in a racing situation and you're not worried about a car attacking or defending in equal situations, then the optimal way to go about using the battery is using a little bit of overtake on the exit of the corner, spending the majority of the time in medium down the straight, and then putting it to none in the corners. As we're coming up to Magnus and Beckett, you can see we put it to none through here, as we don't need the extra battery deployment because we're not really trying to accelerate through the corner, and saving up the battery means we can use equal or if not more battery than we saved up on the exit of the corner, regaining that lap time potential back and then some. Something you might have noticed there is I didn't really speak about the hot lap mode. Although the hot lap mode is useful in many situations, it's not that good for the optimal pace of the car in my experience as well. The battery is very similar to how we ran it in F1 esports last year, so I'm able to share with you a lot of the configuration and a lot of the mentality I had with the battery going through the F1 24 game cycle and through my final season in F1 sim racing as well. So I can give you a bit of extra insight as I'm not connected with the championship anymore in a driver format, so I can share all my little tips, secrets and lessons learned along the way. So now we are here on Silverstone. I'm going to show an example on how I would use the battery around this track and how I would advise you to use the battery in general as well to be mastering the other circuits. Out of the final corner, 100% battery before getting on the power, using up the overtake button before the start finish line to gain speed and momentum, spending the remainder of the straight on the medium mode and then going down into third gear. And then through the apex. Of course, this part isn't really important as we're not speaking about the driving, we're just speaking about the battery usage today. Using the overtake button up until 7th gear, this is a bit different to the race because of course in qualifying you can use all the battery up on your hot lap and that's the ideal way to go about it. In the race you don't want to do that and you'll want your battery to be stable from lap to lap. So here we can really maximize the battery potential out of the corner, and depending how long the straight is, you can be using more and more and more, spending the remainder of the time in medium. If you can see on the halo, we have that green bar that is going down gradually around the outline of the battery percentage. This is the amount of battery we can actually use in the remainder of the lap. Of course, we have our battery percentage, but the green bar is indicating just how much we can use in terms of the global battery usage of the car. Coming into the final sector, we have quite a lot of that usage left to use, and we're going to try to use up the remainder of the lap. Ideally, what you want to do, firstly, is not miss the apex, skid a shoot on my behalf, but secondly, you want to get that green bar as low as possible across the start-finish line, and that is the ideal way to do it. On that example, we didn't quite get it perfect, and there was a decent chunk of the bar remaining across the start-finish line, meaning that we didn't optimize our battery usage. So, how am I going to fix that? Next time out for our next hot lap, I'm going to be focusing on using more of my battery earlier in the lap to try and get that green bar as low as possible over the start-finish line. If you can see right now on the halo, we're using the overtake button and the green bar is going down. And that is what you really want to be focusing on to optimize your battery usage. So, let's give it another crack. So second time around, we slapped a fresh set of tyres on the car right now. Provisionally P1 with Bortoletto around Silverstone. What a sight that would be to see. But as you can see, coming up to the final corner, currently in none. And that is just to make sure that we're at 100% battery before going on the power. Select up into medium mode and then start pressing the overtake. And of course, we're going to be using that button a bit longer than the previous lap. Quite simply because we want to be using up more of our deployment availability as we go into the first sector now. Again, just rotate the car. This bit isn't really important because we're not looking at my driving ability. We're just looking at the battery usage. We're going to be holding the overtake button for longer down into the end of 7th gear this time. And we're going to be a few tenths up on our delta in the end of the first sector because of the extra battery usage in this example. Going through Luffield right now, letting the car rotate. As soon as we're 100% power and confident the rear tyres will stick, we slam back on the power and using up more and more battery down these straights because we know that we can. And we're going to try and get it absolutely perfect this time around, using up way more deployment. Currently 3 tenths up on the delta on my steering wheel. going through Mags and Beckett's, letting the car rotate back on the overtake button. Of course, as we get lower and below 15-20%, the actual power from the battery goes down and you lose a bit of efficiency of the power there, but in qualifying that is not really that much of a problem, and you can continue to be using more and more of the deployment available to you. So going through the final corners now here at Silverstone, hit the apex this time, so clearly fixed partially our skill issue, and running up to the line, that green bar was much closer to be fully utilised and fully used up, and was able to set a new PB lap time around Silverstone as a natural result of that, having more power at our disposal. Worth noting, we did everything we could have around the Silverstone circuit, well, nearly everything we could have done anyway, to try and drain it as much as possible. Some tracks, it will be harder. For example, there might be tracks like Monza, where it's a lot easier to be using up that battery potential because of course the long straights. And then when you arrive to tracks like Monaco, where you're not so much time spent on full throttle, then it's going to be a bit hard to use up that battery potential. So just think about that as you're driving around the circuit. What tracks are easier, what tracks are harder, and sort of set yourself a strategy and a goal on how to utilize it. If for whatever reason it's raining, the same rules apply, and you just want to be using that overtake button as much as possible. To highlight a point from earlier, I find no benefit, to be honest, from using a hot lap in qualifying. Not that you don't gain any power from hot lap to medium, but quite simply it's more efficient for me to be using the overtake button and with the combination of medium mode to be extracting maximum performance from the car. With that being said, let's jump into the race to show an example there. We are now in the race and I'm going to show you how to use the battery as well. So coming off the line, of course you want to go for the initial start phase and then start using the overtake button. Lewis got a rocket of a start there until you feel safe that the car behind won't be able to attack you, or in the situation that you believe you can attack the car ahead and possibly gain a position. Going through the first complex of corners, I advise just to keep it in medium on the first lap, quite simply as you may need that power for battling other cars to gain or retain your racing track position. As soon as you're out of first sector though, I would say go into your routine of putting down the battery into none throughout the corners, and then this can help you manage the rear tyre wear as I mentioned earlier, as well put the overtake button on the exit through the initial part of the phase of acceleration, and then down into medium for the rest of the straight. Although I said that hot lap is not usable for productivity anyway or pace performance in qualifying, I would say hot lap has some unique advantages in the race where you don't quite want to be on the overtake button. You can be running hot lap like this down the back straight until you recognize if the car behind is going to attack or not, and then you can be switching to the overtake button. The reason that this can be better than using the medium, although it's less efficient for the battery percentage, using the hot lap in this situation can mean that you have a better acceleration, meaning that you have a better chance to defend going out of the corner. As you can see like this, Lewis Hamilton is not really able to get close enough to us on the exit, and although, like I say, it's not as efficient as using the normal strategy of the medium, none and overtake, by selecting this sort of alternative strategy on the exit of the corner, aka a defense strategy, it means that your car behind is not going to be gaining on you on the exit. Okay, he has the DRS now, but you can see even before the DRS was activated, by only using medium on the exit of the corner, Lewis Hamilton was able to stay pretty close to us, and even without DRS, he was probably going to have the opportunity to overtake as he goes around the outside of us. But to be honest, the door shouldn't have been open in the first place. I will do a following tutorial on how to do the perfect race start and going through an incredible detail, as that was incredible that we didn't make contact there with Norris going through Cops Corner. But for now, this is how to use the battery like an F1 esports driver in F1 2025, and how I would be trying to maximize the battery performance within the new Formula 1 game. Of course, use overtake for as long as you need on the straight to be maximizing your chance of getting the move completed. We will do an overtake on Lewis Hamilton just as a final example on this video before we head to the outro. Lewis is on the soft compound tyre, so it's also a good example. Coming out of the corner into the overtake button and using it all the way down the straight, you can see how much time it gains you, and holding it committed, fully pressed, and then down the inside, and that shows just how powerful the overtake button can be if you utilize it correctly. Of course, once the move is done, put your mode down to none, and then medium, and then return back to your normal strategy from there onwards if you're not attacking or defending the car ahead or behind. So that has been the tutorial done and dusted. Thank you very much for watching, and let's head to the outro. So here we are in the outro of the video, and firstly I want to thank you so much for watching this individual video. I really hope it's helping you improve your pace, confidence and consistency with an F1 2025, but especially I want to say thank you so much for helping us reach over 30,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. I remember being all the way back then making videos on F1 2015, F1 2016 as well, doing hot lap setup guides and league racing highlights, and we're still here just under or just over 10 years later, depending on the game that you're looking at. And I am so excited for the rest of the journey on YouTube and how it can unfold and how it can look like. So big grazie, big heart for all the support, because it really means the world to me. I also have another exciting announcement. Well, it's exciting to me anyway. I have another exciting announcement going out on this channel right now, and I've launched my own website. I've launched my own setup shop for F1 2025, specializing in 3 setup packs at the moment. One is the complete setup pack, and what I'm going to be delivering is a setup for all tracks on the F1 25 calendar for qualifying, race pace, intermediate tyre and wet tyre as well. Additionally, a dry setup pack for every track on F1 2025. That's going to be a qualifying and race setup for every track, as well the rain setup, as I think you can guess where this is going right now, for every track on the intermediate and wet tyre. So I'll leave a link to my website down below in the description of this video if you'd be interested in checking that out. So either way, I want to thank you so much for the support on this channel. It's been absolutely unreal. It's been a rocket ship, and it's been a journey I've loved so far, and I'm very confident I'm going to keep on loving it. So with that being said, I've been Brendon Leigh, and I'll catch you in the next video. Grazie, ciao ciao, bye bye.